So happy Thursday evening. It's 7:30 East Coast time. That means it's time for our Yamas class. And this is actually the fifth one, the last of the Yamas tonight. So next week we're going to be switching over to the Niyams, which are very interesting also, and I'm excited to do that. So I always like to say the Yamas are the way we should treat the world and everyone in it, and then the Niyamas are how we should treat ourselves. Sometimes they call the Niyamas personal observances, like things that you should do for yourself. I really love the Niyamas. I think they're really great and can be really helpful for us as to like how to go through our lives. The Yamas too. I mean, they're all amazing, but I particularly love some of the Niyamas, so I'm excited to get that going next week. I hope that you'll continue to join me to explore more principles of yoga, because as I've said before teaching this class, I really truly believe that they can be so incredibly helpful in our lives always, but right now, really in this moment when the world is so challenged and things are so different, when we can ground ourselves in these principles that help us to know how to live, they can be so incredibly helpful. So yeah, tonight we're going over the last Yama, which is called Aparigraha, and we've gone over the 4 before it, and now we're here on the last one. And Aparigraha is often translated as non-attachment. Some people call it letting go. Sometimes people call it non-possessiveness. There's like quite a few different ways to translate it, but it's really interesting. It's about not grasping at things, which when you say that sounds like okay, but when you really think about it, it's really, really interesting. When we are so incredibly attached to something or someone, that attachment can really start to rule our lives, and we spend all our time just trying to maintain that attachment, and we're really not able to live our life fully. So the practice of non-attachment can be really, really freeing for us. I always think it's like, you know, if you're being attached to something, it kind of starts to lose the enjoyment, right? And things can turn into more of addictions rather than actual pleasures, right? Like they start to not feel as good because you're so worried about keeping them or losing them. I like to say, like, you know, if you love someone very much and they're there with you and you're spending the time with them, but all you can think about is what happens when they leave, or, you know, what happens if something happens to them, then you're not in that moment really enjoying that time with that person. And so this is the idea of non-attachment. I think for many people, when they first learn about non-attachment, a lot of times we bounce to this place where we end up turning off our emotions or sort of becoming indifferent to things. And that is not what it means at all. In fact, I believe that through non-attachment, we can actually have more strong feelings and more strong experiences, because we're not worried about the next moment, and we're also not thinking about the moment before. Right? If there's something that's not happening anymore and we're really attached to it, then we might be back in our head thinking about it instead of being present. And if there's something that we, you know, don't want to happen in the future or want to happen in the future and we're thinking about that, those are attachments in both directions. And so we're not able to fully experience the moment. But we can fully experience the moment, all of the emotions, all of the joy, all of the things, without getting attached to them. And I think, you know, that's really the distinction. It's about enjoyment over attachment, right? So something to think about. It's really hard for most of us to let go. you know. It's like, you can't fly with feet stuck on the ground, but it's scary to go ahead and take the leap. So non-attachment becomes a serious practice that we have to like work on. But I think it's one of the most crucial parts of the yoga practice is to really try to cultivate the non-attachment while also still experiencing joy and fulfillment and all those things without then getting attached. So the other piece of non-attachment that I think is an interesting place to take this yama, and one of my teachers always talks about this when she's talking about Aparigraha, is that non-attachment also extends over to how you look at the rest of the world and the people in the world, meaning that we also shouldn't get attached to what others have. It can be a real detriment to us to constantly compare ourselves to others, to think that if someone else has a bunch of money or a nice car or something, that that means that we can't have those things. And so a lot of times we get grumbly about people who have success or people who have the things that we want. And so that's another way that we can look at non-attachment too. And so one of my teachers, she always says a big part of this yama is making sure that we're celebrating the successes of others. And I think that that's a really, really great thing to try to do in our lives. No matter what's going on in your life, when people around you are successful, we should celebrate with them and praise them, and that's a big part of this yama as well. So tonight, I thought we could do a few yin poses. So if you've never done yin yoga before, it's really, really interesting. And if you're used to a vinyasa class or an ashtanga class or any type of even just a hatha class, even an iyengar class, if you're used to a physical style of yoga, yin yoga is very, very different. So yin yoga looks to work on the connective tissues rather than the muscles. And in yin yoga, we're actually asked to relax the muscles and not use any force as we stretch. So for me, it's a big challenge. I like active forms of yoga, and I, feel like I'm decently advanced in those active forms of yoga. When I come to do yin yoga, I really have to check myself and really have to take that time and let go. And so I hope that you can feel that as we go through a few poses. So I'm gonna head over to my mat. So when I do yin yoga, I often even put on different clothes. One, because it's slow and I get cold, but two, just kind of as a reminder to myself that this is going to be different than my normal yoga. So let's go ahead, just take a moment, and however you want to sit, just close your eyes. Take a nice, easy inhale, and a nice, easy exhale. Just let the awareness settle onto your breath. Let your breath grow a little longer and a little deeper. And then go ahead, set your intention for these next few minutes, even if you have no idea what yin yoga is all about. That's okay. Whatever you think you might like to focus on, let something arise from you, from your heart, your mind, or your spirit. And whatever that intention is, hold it in the space of your heart and just find a few more nice long breaths. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So let's start by bringing the bottoms of our feet together. We don't have to bring the feet in super close to ourselves, just have them out. In most styles of yoga, we call this bound angle pose. But yin yoga has different names for the poses, again, so that you separate your normal yoga mind from your yin yoga mind. So we're here with our feet together, our knees out to the side. And as we go into these stretches, we're going to think no muscular engagement, No forcing ourselves down, so we're not pulling with our arms, we're not using the strength of our body to move down. We're only using gravity and our breath. And so for me, that's such a great way to practice letting go, because those are the only two things that you can do. All right, my Instagram folks got something happened. Let's see. Okay. So in our bound angle, or in our butterfly, I should say, instead of keeping a long spine, heart forward, all that stuff that I usually instruct, we're actually just going to slump down, let the head drop down. And again, I'm not grabbing my feet and pulling. I'm just letting, I can even put my hands face up if I want to. All I'm using is gravity and my breath. And the idea of yin is just like the idea of an orthodontist. So our muscles we can stretch fairly easily, but our connective tissues are more dense. Bone is a connective tissue. We're certainly not stretching bone right now. But when you think of the orthodontist, he puts a very low amount of pressure over a long course of time, and he's able to change the bones in your jaw, right? Your teeth and your jaw change. If he put the same amount of pressure total that existed over that course of time in a short period, then the bone would break. So same thing, when we get into yin poses, we hold them for quite a while, but we don't use any pressure, right? We just use our breath and gravity. So as you're here, what we're trying to do is just to let go. And so every exhale, just feel yourself soften down a little bit more. And as we're here, you might notice without forcing, you naturally get a bit lower, and then you can move, adjust yourself if you need to. But again, you're not pulling yourself down. Just here, letting gravity work and using your breath. So most of the time, yin poses are held from anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes. It just depends on the practice and the pose. I usually practice yin with a timer because trying to figure out longer times is a challenge when I'm practicing, but tonight I don't have a timer, so I apologize, but we're going to be here for approximately 2 minutes, at least that's my idea. So again, just using your breath. Really think extra about the exhales, the letting go. And then go ahead really slowly, we can sit up. So when you come out of yin poses, you usually feel kind of stiff, but that's okay, that's kind of what they do, because we're training those connective tissues. So go ahead, take your feet on the floor, and we'll just windshield wipe our legs back and forth a couple times. We're only going to do a few poses tonight, but I just wanted you to try to get this experience of letting go in these stretches as we're thinking about Aparigraha, letting go. So this next one is called caterpillar in yin yoga. Normally we call it Paschimottanasana. But what we're going to think about in this pose, we're going to fold forward over our legs, is really, really concentrating on not having muscular action in the legs and not pulling ourselves down. So normally in this pose, we engage the thighs, the toes point up to the sky, and we can use our hands and we fold forward. But tonight, we're going to let our legs be loose. And so you can go ahead and just give your legs like a manual wiggle with your hands, and just let the feet be however they are. My feet naturally kind of turn in, or kind of straight. Some people, the feet might turn out, and that's totally okay, but it's just wherever you are with no muscular action. And then just like in the pose before, we're gonna sling forward, let the head hang down, Let the back round. That's normally not my instruction when we fold forward like this, right? We keep the spine long, lead with the heart. But we're letting go of that idea of what the pose usually is and coming into this new shape. And again, just using gravity and the breath. Giving that extra attention to the exhale. And as you're here, just finding that exhale, check in with yourself and see, have my legs started to engage? Because our body naturally wants to hold, it wants to have muscle tension, it wants to grasp. And so a lot of times we'll be here and the legs will start to engage, and then we can invite them to relax again. And again, bring the mind back to the letting go of the exhale. And just like the other pose, if you feel like you're going further, you can adjust yourself, but don't pull yourself down. Just keep using your breath. And then we can go ahead and sit on up. So again, if you're feeling a little stiff, that's okay. This time, take your feet to the ground and just lift your butt up off the floor for a moment and give everything a wiggle, and we'll come back down. All right. So let's go ahead, make our way onto our backs. Like I said, we're only going to do a couple poses tonight. If anybody's interested in a yin class, I'd be happy to start one. Just let me know. Yin yoga is so fascinating. And like I said, it's very, very challenging for me, but I really love doing it. So just let the arms be down beside you and straighten your left leg out. Then from there, bring your right knee over to the ground on the left side. And don't worry about what each leg is doing. You can let palms face up to the sky or down to the floor. You're not trying to lengthen like we normally do. You're not trying to force the other shoulder back down. Just be in this twist. Again, no muscular action. Just using your breath. Not forcing anything. Finding this feeling of continually letting go. Keep focusing on the exhale. And then go ahead back to the center. We'll straighten out the right leg. And then let the left knee come all the way over to the ground on the right. Same thing. Not worrying about any alignment, not worrying about forcing the twist or rooting the shoulder. Just be wherever you are. Let go of whatever you think this pose is supposed to look like. Keeping the focus on your exhale. Just let gravity help you twist. Feeling where you can let go a little more. Notice if your body's started to grasp at a shape, invite it to relax. And then go ahead back to the center. Hug your knees into your chest for a moment. Maybe rock side to side a little bit. And then we can go ahead and stretch our legs all the way up into Shavasana. And Shavasana is a great place to think about letting go. So, as you're here in this Shavasana, take your hands and your feet and just inhale and squeeze everything tight. So you're squeezing all the muscles to your bones. And then exhale and relax everything. Just let go. Try that 2 more times. Inhale, squeeze everything. And exhale, let it go. Last one. Inhale, squeeze everything. And exhale, let it go. And just let your whole body start to soften into your mat. And for a few moments, I want you to keep your awareness as it has been on your exhale. And every exhale, see if you can soften and let go a little bit more. So you're sinking into the mat, sinking into the floor, sinking into the earth. And again, you might notice our body has this natural tendency to grasp, to want to hold itself in a certain shape, to have some tension. One Kashmir Shaivite text has a whole, I don't know if it's a chapter, a whole section of a book just about Shavasana and about the practice of letting go, of letting yourself be heavy, of trusting that the earth is under there supporting you and letting yourself just let go and just be. And they spend so much time talking about it because it's a challenge and it's a practice to let go. When we let go, we trust that the universe is going to be there to support us, whatever the next thing is. Just like as we're here, we're trusting the ground underneath us to hold us up. And see how heavy you can feel. See how relaxed your muscles can be. Notice if you're holding your face in a certain position, and relax your face as well. Once you think you've let go completely, let go a little bit more. And then finally let go of that awareness of the breath. Trust that the air will move in and out and breathe you, that you don't have to grasp at your breath, that it'll go in and out on its own. And lastly, let go of grasping at your thoughts. When thoughts arise, just let them go. Imagine they're like clouds on a nice blue sky, and they can float by without you grasping at them, without you going down whatever road they're trying to take you. Thoughts come up, emotions come up, and that's okay. But see if you can find that Aparigraha, that non-attachment, and just let them be. And just be here and enjoy these last few minutes on your mat. When you're ready, nice and slowly draw your awareness back into your body. Bring the awareness back to the breath. When it feels good, you can wiggle your fingers and your toes, move your hands and your feet, roll out your wrists and your ankles. Maybe reach up overhead, have a big stretch. Maybe take your arms across your chest, give yourself a nice big hug. You can get your extra hug. You can switch with arms on top. Nice and slow, you can bend your knees. Make your way over to your right side, and then we'll make our way up to seated. We can find legs crossed, hands can rest on our knees, eyes can stay closed. So as you go off your mat, out into your off the mat life, think about this idea of non-attachment, of Aparigraha. Know that it's a choice between enjoyment and attachment, and that enjoyment can still be found, pleasure can still be found. In fact, it frees us up to celebrate others and to celebrate the world around us as well. We think about our breath as a really great way to observe non-attachment in ourselves. As we take each breath, we trust that the next one will come after it. And we trust that the air will nourish us and that the breath is always there. If we got attached to our breath and took a big inhale and thought, oh, it's so important that I have this breath and that it's helping me, and I'm never going to let it go, because what happens if I don't have another one and I'm just going to hold on to this one? Eventually that would turn toxic, and if you held your breath long enough, of course, you would pass out or die. So you can see that being attached can come to be a detriment, but that enjoying a nice breath, letting it go, can really bring us a lot of joy and pleasure. So the same thing goes for everything. Let's bring our hands to touch at our hearts. Whatever your intention was, even if it didn't work out, let go of expectation or judgment or anything like that. And just take your mind back to it for a moment. Check in with yourself. See how it went. And then most importantly, of course, take a moment and honor the light that exists within you and thank yourself for coming to yoga today. I thank you all for being here with me as well. And I honor the light within you and within all beings. Namaste.